We good? Righty. Good morning. It is March 9th. Spring is here. The sun is shining. The clocks are back to normal. Stock markets are in the gutter, and oil is on a runaway train with no end in sight. We'll be breaking it all down for you here today on the stream. Welcome, everyone. If this is your first time here, what we're doing is an overall wellness check on the crypto market. Of course, we're also going to look at silver and gold, especially looking at oil. And we're going to be looking at the stock market too, because, hey, all of this is interrelated. So we'll cover all of that. And then in the second half of the stream, we'll break down some of my DeFi programs that I've been running. With that, I'm going to say good morning to everyone, and we're going to get right into things. So good morning, Mill. Good morning, Stav. Good morning, David. Good morning, FRD. Good morning, Chris, and Gangsta Goblin. I'm going to get myself situated here, and I'll share my screen in just a second. Here we go. There we go. Let me make sure the volume's down, and we are good to go. All right. So, overall crypto market has not been too badly beaten up, which is checking in. Just an overall wellness check here. We got fear and greeds at 22, so a little bit better than what we've seen in the past 30 days, which oddly enough, I would have expected this to go back down given the circumstances over the weekend, but fear and greed at a 22, that is better than what it's been for the past 30-day moving average. So interesting thing to consider with the way the market has been, especially with all the war going on in Iran. I would have thought this would have gone back down. It's actually going back up. Good morning, Barbara. So Bitcoin is inching its way back up to 70,000. Now, we get a lot of whiplash here. Things go up, things go down. You really just can't predict the crypto market right now. And as much as people try, whatever you think it's going to do, it tends to do the opposite. So if you weren't aware, over the weekend, the war between Iran and Israel has completely gotten out of control. But oddly enough, Bitcoin's been recovering for about the past 12 hours. Now, I would have imagined this was going to go a lot lower than it did. We've seen oil spike absolutely bonkers. It's actually pulled back a little bit, and once we get through the crypto segment, we're definitely going to be hopping into oil. This is telling me that maybe the crypto market has already had its blood, and now it's the stock market's turn. We're going to be looking at that one as well. The stock market has taken quite a beating this morning. Much more than what the stock market would normally experience. So I think that's going to be a trend we see going forward into 2026. Maybe crypto got hit first. You know, when these tumultuous times are upon us, it's usually the risk on assets that get hit first. That would be anything crypto related. And that would also be some of the equities market. So we're seeing that this has already happened. Maybe it's not going to be as bad as we thought, at least for crypto. I have to imagine if we were going to see crypto get hit, it would have been hit over the weekend, and that actually did not happen. Now, I'm no fortune teller, so I just watch the markets and how they move, and I try to adapt as best I can. Things don't always necessarily play out the way that I predict them to. XRP is hanging pretty steady here at $1.36. It was $1.36 the last time we streamed, in fact. And so we're seeing some consolidation down here at this range. Now, some of us on the channel have thought that we might go and find ourselves at $1.20 to maybe $1 at the worst for XRP. I still think it's a possibility, but it hasn't happened yet. And if having a plume of oil burning in the sky isn't enough to drive this one down, maybe we've seen the worst that we're going to see as far as crypto's dips are concerned. We're gonna watch this through the week, and I'm sure as the week goes on, every day is an opportunity for a new catastrophe to happen. And so we'll just kind of keep an eye on that as we go. By the way, my video last night, I had a little bit of a raspy cough. I don't have anything this morning, but pollen is in the air. So if I have to lean away to cough every once in a while, I'm not sick. It's just seasonal allergies. Stav says the price of gas is pumping. I did go out for gas yesterday. Actually, I didn't fill up. I got to Costco. I looked at the line and I said, this isn't worth my time. And I actually left. The line at Costco was like all the way to the road for the line to get gas. I wasn't in the mood for that, so I just said screw it, and I drove home. Not, of course, without stopping inside to get some samples and buy some fruit. Been eating a lot of apples lately, so I go through apples. I go through a bag of apples in about 2 days right now. I'm having like 3 or 4 a day. So I at least got something out of that trip. But yes, gas prices are going up. I believe I saw at Costco it was $3.50. So I have to imagine, if you guys don't know, Costco always has the best gas prices. So if it's $3.50 at Costco, it's probably $4 at regular pumps. And those are Michigan prices. I don't even know what the price of gas looks like. If you're in California or any of those West Coast states, you know, since I'm not in that market, I'm not really seeing what you guys are seeing. I'd be curious to know if you guys do remember, what were your gas prices like in your neighborhood? I'm sure different areas have been affected in different ways. So looking throughout the crypto market, everything is pretty much moving along as we would expect. You know, when Bitcoin goes up, everything else does too. So Bitcoin's on, you know, a 2.5% rise for the day. Just about all of the coins that are running analogous to Bitcoin also up about 2.5%. I'm seeing that Hyperliquid is up a whopping 7%. Now, I think Hyperliquid is interesting because they are pretty active as far as DeFi goes, tokenization of real world assets. They seem to have a platform that a lot of this is going to be on. And we've already seen some integration with Hyperliquid for some of our favorite coins here, like XRP and Flare. Now, I don't actually own any Hyperliquid, so can't say whether or not it's a good buy. But they do have a good platform as far as, you know, the utility of crypto is concerned. So this is an interesting one to keep an eye on, even though I'm not personally buying it. I want to jump to Quant real quick because you guys know that I like my Quant. Quant has had a little bit of a rough weekend here. I always think it's interesting that Quant seems to move differently from you know, the rest of the crypto market. So things that are happening in the rest of crypto may not necessarily affect Quant. It seems to kind of be moving at the beat of its own drum. Down to 63. I'm looking at this thinking, oh, this could be something interesting for dollar cost averaging. As long as Quant continues to stay low, I think this is an excellent buy, especially due to the fact that Quant being an operating system and not a blockchain, it's going to fulfill a purpose that, you know, other coins don't fill, and it's going to fill that that role for the long term. Now, the Bank of England is already using Quant to some extent. I don't know how deep that is, but that is official news, or at least official story, that the Bank of England is officially partnered up with Quant. I do believe Japan is also getting into Quant. So those are the kind of headlines that tell me this thing's in it for the long haul, because in the long run, I think a lot of cryptos that don't get adopted are going to end up falling in price until they eventually become obscure. It's never going to go to true zero, but you might see, you know, some of the coins that are popular right now, if they don't get adopted, you could see them lose like 90% of their value and never come back from that. So to see Quant is officially with the Bank of England, also working with Japan, tells me, hey, this one's here for the long haul. It's not going anywhere, and it's tremendously on sale. If you're not familiar with the pricing in crypto, most of the times cryptos are very cheap because they have a whole bunch of tokens. Quant only has 14.88 million that can ever exist. We'll just round that up to call that 15 million just to kind of make that sound nicer. If there's ever only going to be 15 million quant, well, then it kind of makes sense that this would be $63, whereas something like XRP or HBAR that has 100 billion in total supply, well, it's just simple mathematics there. So quant, I would say, is still very cheap. I think if you were going to be buying quant, this would definitely be a 10-year hold, in my opinion. I wouldn't want to do any micromanaging of quant for at least 10 years. Get into 2035, see where things end up there. Now, I do know that staking will eventually become a thing for quant, so when that goes live, I will 100% be getting involved. But I don't actually have a whole lot yet, so this is one... I'm waiting for the right opportunities to start kind of accelerating my purchasing for quant. But right now, I'm just very focused on Flare. Flare, I think... I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. So I love XRP, but we know that XRP's main purpose was the Nostro Vostro accounts. Can it do other things? Sure, but there's other technology that has come out since 2014 that you can't really argue the technology has improved. There's layer ones out there like Flare's own platform and Hedera's platform that kind of do things a little bit better. And so I'm looking at Flare and I'm thinking, well, they just did something for XRP that makes XRP more valuable by creating FXRP. I'm looking at Flare, you guys. I'm thinking that Flare might, in some ways, be the XRP that we always wanted. And so I'm looking at this like I kind of want to just be buying a lot of Flare right now. I might even say... this is just me thinking out loud here, but I might even accelerate Flare ahead of XRP, at least in the interim, because look, Flare is so close to hitting that true all-time bottom. You're never going to get an all-time bottom out of HBAR or out of XRP ever again. And if you did, then crypto would be over, because XRP has still gone up by like 20,000% since it originally launched. I want to say it was 2013, back when it was still called OpenCoin. So I guess Ripple was called OpenCoin back then. I think the actual XRP token was called something else too, but that was so long ago. I'm brain farting on what that was. If you guys know, just let me know in the comments and I'll clarify it. But I'm just looking at Flare, you guys. I'm thinking this could be the best opportunity to buy this token that has ever existed. And I don't know about you guys, but when I go to Twitter to look for news, you almost can't turn away from the Flare news. There's so much news that it's like, geez, I can't almost not even keep up with it. And there's more XRP news coming out of Flare than coming out of Ripple. I think that's very interesting. It's like, almost every day you're hearing about FXRP, but that's not really Ripple. That's Flare. So I'm looking at Flare right now and I'm like, man, I almost can't bring myself to really buy anything else right now. So I'm extremely bullish on Flare. It's probably, at least for right now, my #1 favorite token. And then, of course, I still love HBAR. I think HBAR is going to definitely absorb a lot of the real world assets market once these tokenization dreams start to come true. HBAR hanging out at 9.5 cents. This is a tremendous deal, but it's not an all-time bottom quite like we've seen with Flare. Now, I believe the all-time bottom for HBAR would have been around 1 cent. I don't think... I know that, bad things in the market have been happening, but I just don't think that H bar can get back down to 1 penny. If it does, you guys, we'd be in some serious trouble. So I think the bottoms are getting close. A 9.5 cent H bar, I believe, is a very good deal. I just feel like a 9/10 of a penny flare might be a slightly better deal. So all in all, crypto has not been hit too much really in either direction for the past week. I'm looking at BitTensor though. BitTensor is an interesting one. I have a very, very small amount of this. It was recommended to me by one of the viewers on the channel. At this point, I can't even remember who it was, but they said, hey, check out BitTensor. I got a small amount. I mean, when I say small, I don't even think I have a whole token. So it is at 196. It's up actually more than just about anything else in the current market. So it's up 12% in the past 24 hours. Pretty interesting considering where everything is at in the news. You wouldn't think that any crypto could be up 12%. I think this is I'm thinking of the South Park one where he put his balls in the wheelbarrow. But I'm looking at BitTensor or TA0 or TAO, however you want to call it, Tau, I guess. And it's on my peripheral radar. I wouldn't necessarily say it's on my primary watch list, but as far as AI tokens go, it does sound like TAO or Tau is leading that AI space. And so anytime there's an industry leader kind of cornering a certain segment of the market, that's something I like to look at. So like if you think like H-bar is kind of cornering the real world assets market, Ripple's cornering the Nostro Vostro, Flare's cornering DeFi, Quant is cornering interoperability. Maybe Tau is cornering AI. Could be a good thing to diversify into. But I'm going to cross this particular bridge after I'm happy with my other bags, which you know that's a never-ending goalpost. So as soon as you hit a goal, you always move it back another post. We'll see. At some point, I might diversify into BitTensor, but right now it's just kind of on my watch list, but I'm not actively buying it. All right, now let's jump into the stuff we all wanted to look at. JP10Y is finally going back up. I hate to say finally because it's not necessarily a good thing, but I guess it is for XRP holders. Over the night, it got all the way up to 2.22. Now it has fallen back down a little bit now that we've got morning, at least here in the United States. Over there in the East, I do believe it's nighttime for them by now. It could... I want to say Japan is 16 hours ahead, but I don't know the exact timing of that. But I do know that their markets here, at least in the Eastern time zone, open up at 6 p.m. So if you ever wanted to get a head start on the Asian markets, look at your phone around 6 p.m. on a Sunday and you can kind of see where things are moving. So I do believe, at least for now, the JP10Y is probably going to be at this figure for at least the remainder of our day here in the United States. We'll see how this continues to play out. Oil has actually come back down again. I mean, come back down is a relative statement. Before the weekend started, it was at 14,000. Now it's at 15,000. It spiked as high as 18 last night. Right before I went to bed, it was around 18. So imagine my surprise when I wake up. I see the oil back down to 15,000. This is not necessarily... This doesn't mean the problem is solved, right? This doesn't mean anything like that. But if we look at the 7-day chart, you know, up, spike, and now it's come back down a little bit. So we'll keep watching this throughout the week. If you don't know, an oil refinery was hit over the weekend. There's tons of footage of it on Twitter, or X as some people now prefer to call it. It looks very bad. I mean, this is like almost on the level of like you now have like an ecological disaster, right? Like beyond just the fact that this is affecting markets, there is now a plume of black smog that might actually get blown into India. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Nothing happens in a vacuum. You do something to Iran, now the smoke from that airstrike is like spilling over into other countries. It's going to be very interesting to see, does that get more people upset with us than just Iran and the Gulf Coast countries? I think that it certainly could. I don't know about you guys, but I would not be too happy about having oil above my head raining down on me, getting sludge all over everything that I have, and also affecting the air particles that I breathe. Although given that particular part of the world, maybe that's not such a big deal to them, but it would be a big deal to me. We'll see how that plays out, but at least for now, oil is kind of stabilized. I want to say stabilized. I mean, 15,000 yen is not a stable oil price, but it's better than being at, 18,000. And I know this affects us here at home, so I'm going to actually pull up another chart just so we can see Brent oil in USD. Just so that we kind of have a way of looking at this and saying like, well, what does this really mean for me? So it looks like, no, is this the right one? Is this US dollars? I'm pulling up a chart here that says 99. I'm going to pull up a second chart just to make sure that that's actually what it is. Okay, so it does look like Brent oil, at least in US dollars, down to 99. So we're at least under $100 a barrel again, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this is like a good thing, right? It very, very, very briefly got almost to $120 a barrel last night, but did come back down. This chart's tripping me up because I don't know if you guys can see it, but the dates on here are in European standard, whereas here in the United States, we do it differently. So I'm looking at this chart saying like, why does it say September 3rd? But over in Europe, that's how they would write March 9th. So things like that are pretty, can kind of trip you up when you're looking at these charts. I used to work for a European company, and so for years I had like whiplash of looking at dates and times because at work I would follow the European calendar, and then in my personal life I'd have to follow the normal calendar. And then it ended up being that I got it wrong on both fronts, right? So calendar reading can be interesting when you have that problem. So jump back over here to Brent, at least for the yen. We're looking at 15,000. I think the reverse carry trade happens when this goes higher. It's kind of like being in a pressure cooker. Like the higher this goes, the more pressure there is, but there still needs to be time under tension. So like, just because it hits 20,000 doesn't mean it's like boom, snap of the finger, and now the reverse carry trade hits. It's more like a 20,000 yen barrel of oil will cause like economic damage, and that economic damage is what causes the reverse carry trade. So the price is basically a force multiplier at this point. It's not necessarily like running a race where you crossed a certain line, the ribbon breaks, and now the race is over. It's not like that. It's more like how much abuse can the camel take before his back breaks? And so that's where it gets hard trying to say, when does this exactly happen? What day? What's the exact benchmark that causes this? I don't think anyone knows. I think it's just, you take the formula of rising oil price and you measure that up with the rise of the bond rates, and it's going to eventually turn into a pot of water that just boils over. We just don't know what the exact amount will be. Thank you for reminding Stav. We've only got 13 likes on the stream so far. If you guys could do me a solid, just hit the like button. It's this very small thing. but it really does help get these streams out there for a new audience. That way, like when you hit the button, YouTube might start putting it in the recommendeds tab. So if you guys could do that for me, that would be awesome. I'm going to be jumping now to silver. Silver's been very flat. I've been really hanging out in this $84 range. I mean, we're looking at a 5-day average here, including through the weekend. Not really up, not really down. I would say that, I mean, almost actually exactly flat. We're looking at negative 0.02%. So that really is what I would call a flat price here. So it looks like silver is consolidating. Now, if I was a betting man, I'd bet that means gold is too. Let's take a look at that one. Yep. So gold and silver, the charts have basically been identical for at least the past 6 months or so. I think that it's very odd because silver, you know, is going to be very useful as far as batteries go. A lot of our AI tech is going to kind of rely on silver for being used in parts. Gold gets used in technology too, just not at the same volume that silver will. And so I think, you know, isn't it kind of weird that two different objects out there that have different purposes are trading almost in tandem? Now, I know the actual prices are different. Like an ounce of gold is $5,100 and an ounce of silver is $84. So I'm not saying their prices are the same, but the movement of their prices are the same, if that makes sense. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, that, you know, that doesn't really add up to me. That seems pretty screwy. So we'll have to see what goes on with the COMEX. I think that there's definitely some manipulation going on there. I wouldn't be surprised if some of it's actually not legal, but we'll have to see. I mean, it's one thing, it's one thing to suspect and another thing to prove. So, you know, I hope that you guys can kind of extrapolate that out, but can't necessarily prove there's manipulation, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Now, I'm going to look over here at the U.S. stock market. So it had a pretty sharp decrease in the morning. I thought this was 100% going to happen, and it did. I think it was around, now this chart doesn't really show it very easily because there's not like a way for me to put two columns in here. This looks like it was around a 2 or 3% sharp decrease on the open. Now it has moved, it has actually recovered most of that loss in the past 2 or 3 hours that the markets have been open. Prior to opening, it was 6,731. Now it's back up to 6,710, but you know, maybe around 10 a.m. it got down to 6,586. So pretty sharp fall off for the stock market, and now it's actually kind of on its way back up. You know, this whole market, this whole industry is a real head scratcher. You think the market's going to do one thing and it does something else. I was expecting this to continue going down. This little recovery here I was not expecting. This could be a dead cat bounce, so just had to kind of keep watching this. Now, I'm not really buying stocks right now, but I still check the stock market because it lets me know what the overall U.S. market is doing, and that's going to, you know, extrapolate out to the price of groceries, the price of gas, the job market very much included in this. Pretty scary stuff. You know, when you have rising unemployment rates, you start to see a lot of problems in the society aspect. So civil unrest, rioting, you might have more gremlins walking around in your backyard while you're trying to sleep. And so, you know, that's the kind of stuff that when I'm seeing an economic collapse, I'm not just thinking of the money angle. I'm thinking like, well, am I going to have people trying to bust into the house to get food or get money? Or because that's just the kind of thing that can happen when there's widespread unemployment. You don't really want to have the markets crash like this. So yeah, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on it. That's one thing I want to say about the reverse carry trade, by the way, you guys. Because I do see, I'm not saying any of you guys, but I am seeing some very naive people on the internet like, oh, we're about to get rich and everyone else will be poor. You don't want to be rich when everyone else is poor, especially if the poor people know that you're rich. It's I don't know how I can spell it out to you guys in a way that won't get this stream censored or demonetized. If people are going to be able to put 2 and 2 together if everyone's doing bad and you're not. Now, on some level, on your social life, you might get some resentment out of that. You might have some family members hitting you up when, like, throughout the week, whatever. It's another story to have people in your house trying to rob you, and they might take you out in the process, right? So it's one of those things, you got to look at this and be like, I don't necessarily want the economy to collapse because I don't want to invite these other problems that aren't market related into my life. I don't see a lot of people in the crypto space that are really taking that seriously. I know that some of you guys watching this are taking that seriously, but you go to the general Twitter space and everyone's very naive to what civil unrest can do to you on a personal level. It's something that I try to really keep an eye on. It's something that if I need to, I'd rather just abandon my position and go somewhere rural for a while if that's what it took, or I don't know, maybe disappear to Thailand for a year or two. It's one of those things where there's no point in having all this money in crypto if you've got to barricade your house and be paranoid all the time. So I'm just keeping an eye on this stuff. The rising price of gas would probably be the catalyst for something like that to happen. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it and hope that things don't get too out of control. Now, Black Gold in the comments just said that nothing's going to happen until the Clarity Act. You know, isn't it very odd that the reverse carry trade and the Clarity Act could happen potentially in the same month, if not within the same week or two? It tells me that all of this was pre-planned. I mean, how else could that make sense, right? You've got this bill that, quite frankly, sucks. And now you have this war in Iran. Both parts of the Jay Claver's domino theory, by the way. It's like, well, are we really just... People always say the world is theater. I feel like that's such a pessimistic outlook, but I'm like, is it though? Is this all just a game that our lives are a game for the rich and wealthy to play? It rubs me the wrong way in a deep way if that is the truth of it. But who knows? We'll have to see how things play out. I'm going to jump over to my DeFi stuff now. Now, I do believe I may have missed the weekend, unfortunately. So today's the 9th. I think what I'm going to do, since I didn't really record it over the weekend, just sort of, hey, I'll be honest, I just kind of forgot about it. I know that I didn't have any epochs, so I'm just going to put zeros into both of those. Now, as far as the collateral pool goes, I'm going to have to round up to whatever it is now. And we'll just take our best estimate. So I at least know that my collateral pool is 272.67. So we're going to go 50,000, 272.67. Now we know that just by following how it normally looks, if I don't get the epoch reward in the collateral pool, it really doesn't move much. So these were probably also 272s. I'm just going to put like 5.8, and then let's put like 6.1. I'm sure that's probably very similar to what it really would have been. That's the best way I can think of it for now, because otherwise these would just be blank. I don't want to have the spreadsheet have that completely blank, but I'm usually on top of the ball when it comes to recording this stuff. I just had a busy weekend. Now what would we say the price was for Flare on the 8th? Would have been 00902. Easy enough. And then the day before that would have been 00885. So 00885. May as well log XRP's price too while we're here. So we got 135 and 136. Is it 136? I guess it is. Oh, now it's back to 135. I'm gonna leave it where it is. Then we have 135 and 135. So oddly enough, it really stayed at 135 at least at some point in the day at each of those days, which is pretty interesting. I've added a new column for those that don't know. I'm now officially in Kinetic with FXRP and with Flare. So I've added 2 new columns to this spreadsheet. And I'll kind of break those down once I fill out this part. I've got, let's see here. I'm up to 0.46 in my FXRP rewards. Judging by its normal trend, it seems to go up by about 1/100th of a day, or 1/100th of an XRP per day. So we'll just go to 0.44 and then 0.45. That's gotta be close to what it really was. I'm not just gonna drag those down. All right, then next thing to look at will be my Mystic, and then we'll jump to Kinetic, which is going to be it's going to be the one. So, well, check this out, guys. FXRP's rewards are now back up to 4.18%. So I do like that. I think that there's some interesting things going on here, that the APY on Mystic, it really is like all over the place. And I like to have, like, by the way, I know this is messed up, but since I missed these, I'm just kind of putting my best guess estimates in there. Otherwise, these would just be blank boxes, which would kind of screw with the data. It seems to go up by roughly 20 to 25 per day, so I kind of just did my best guess there. But going back to Mystic, last time we looked at this, it was around 1.25%. Now it's up to 4.18. So pretty interesting to see how this thing plays out. I'd like it to be a little bit more stable. I'm happy it's back up to 4.18. But it's very hard to project your annual earnings when this thing moves around so much. I'm not sure why it moves quite like it does, but all we can really do is just kind of keep tracking it, and hopefully this gets more stable as time goes on. Otherwise, it's like it's all over the place. And when I'm concerned about getting yield, that's kind of what I don't want. I kind of want something more stable. Nonetheless, 4.18% I think is a lot more reasonable than 1.2. So we'll just kind of have to keep looking at it. Chris says it looks like a lot of volume came out, causing the APY to spike back up. Let's see if we can kind of dig into that a bit. I know on here somewhere there's charts. Now here's the supply column, but These charts aren't really doing much, are they? Huh. Where do you see the yeah, Chris, where do you see it? Do you see that under the total supply column? Oh, okay, here we go. Liquidity. Well, maybe that's it. So went from 4 million to 1 million. Well, I'd hate to have people pulling out of this thing, but I guess if it gives me more, in a greedy way, if it gives me more yield out of it. But that's not kind of what we want, right? We want people to be involved in this. So we'll just have to see. Ideally, you know, if people adding to the pool makes the APY go down that much, that is actually kind of concerning to me. I'm just gonna look real quick just to make sure I didn't actually have any yield to claim. I did not, so that's good. I'm gonna make sure. Are we all caught up on this spreadsheet? We are good here. So the only things left to look at now would be my kinetic FLR. So we're gonna jump over to kinetic now and take a peek at how that's done. It's been in there for a few days now, so we will hopefully be able to see if it's kind of made some good progress. Let's get in here and take a look. So I'm going to my dashboard. Let's see here. Maybe the rewards are on the rewards tab, so let's try that. Okay, so I don't think I've gotten any rewards yet, but if I did, I would be getting 48 RFLR. Now, one thing I want to make sure, I think the FXRP also rewards FLR, so we might have to kind of consider that as part of the reward structure. So I have FXRP. Yeah, and it does get paid out in RFLR. So I haven't gotten anything out of here yet. My unclaimed rewards are, you know, pretty small here. So maybe this one's not ready for me to do anything with yet. I only just put kinetic in, I think Friday was when I first did kinetic. So I've been in the kinetic for about 2 or 3 days. That's probably not enough time for me to actually get a reward yet. So we'll just have to see. It does look like my next cycle rewards would be basically 50. We'll just kind of round that up. So that's cool. I think for now, because I don't have anything, I'm just going to put 50,000. And then maybe I need another column here. Kinetic RFLR. I think that's what we need. This spreadsheet's probably going to get pretty wide as time goes on. Let's see. Is there anything I can tighten up? Let's see. Let's see if I can shorten this. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if I pull the D out, then I can really tighten this thing up. Yeah, there we go. Ideally, I'd like to have the whole spreadsheet on a single screen. That way I don't have to scroll it left and right. So I'm just going to see if I can tighten these columns up. Every little bit will help. I have a feeling at some point I might have to end up adding more columns to this. Oh, we could definitely tighten up the date. Yeah, that's good. And then wrap flare, we can tighten that a little bit. And then there we go. Okay, that's good. Cool. So as of right now, I started this experiment with 150,000 flare. Now I added another 50,000 flare on the 6th. So I've got 200,000 of my own flare in this, and I've been rewarded 1,400 flare across all the different stuff that I'm tracking since we started this on February 1st. Just keep in mind that Mystic and Kinetic FXRP are both rewarding in flare, so that's going to kind of skew the data a little bit, but we'll just have to make the most of it because I do want to track that kind of stuff. I'm going to put parentheses here just to make it look nicer. I do want to track the FXRP rewards. They get rewarded in flare, so we're going to have to put that somewhere. Maybe at some point when I'm doing this offline, I could kind of tinker around, maybe add a column that is just simply, maybe I could add it over here, be like, here's the RFLR total rewards or something like that. But otherwise, I'm expecting the stake reward to hit on the 12th. We'll see if that does end up happening. Should probably have an epoch to claim by tomorrow. And then at some point in the future, probably not right away, I would like to get into Scepter as well. So that would kind of branch this thing out, maybe even a little more than it already is. But this is a nice way to just sort of keep track of all the different things that are going on with Kinetic, with Mystic. Scepter is another option now. Spectra is also an option. So there's a lot of options out there for getting into DeFi. We'll see which ones are the best. Now, Chris says everyone was pissed off with the 1%. I know that I was, so it makes sense that people would have pulled out a Mystic. That's actually, I pulled out a Mystic and put into Kinetic, so I'm even one of those people where I was like, I'm not really getting anything out of this. Let's try somewhere else. So, FXRP 2.6%, nothing crazy there. But hey, it's better than 1%. And then in general, the Flare network or the Flare token has had such better rewards. Like staking is pretty lucrative as far as Flare goes. And I'm not on Scepter yet, but I am staking on the main Flare network, and that's been really nice. Very, very happy with. Really, I'm happy with both my wrapped rewards and my staking. That was explained to me, and I thought this was interesting. I didn't know this. If you stake and wrap with the same FTSO provider, if I'm understanding this properly, your staked reward also is qualified for an epoch. So if you were only to stake with an FTSO provider and you weren't wrapping with them, the epoch would be included in your stake reward. Now, as it was explained to me, I don't know how true this is, but because I'm using Anchor for both my wrapping and for my staking, my staked epoch is just going into my wrap. So that would explain why I'm getting kind of a crazy result here. I'm getting 10% on my wrapping, which is way better than it should be. But then I think that means we're also going to see the staking reward be a little smaller than it should be. So it's not that I'm not getting the reward. It's just that because I'm double dipping FTSO wrapping and staking, it's showing up in that way. I don't know if that's actually true. That's just what was told to me. It does seem like it would kind of make sense though. So we'll keep watching this. Going to be very excited to see on the 12th what we end up getting. So that's going to be very cool. Besides that, let's check out our rich list. I always like taking screenshots of this. So I think I took a screenshot of this the last time. So I won't save this particular one, but let's at least get this on the screen. I like to just check. This is just fun for me. I just like to check these just for fun. To be in the top 1%, you need to have 46,080 XRP. That would have been true last week. It's going to hit refresh and see where that ends up. Okay, so it's only down 2 tokens. Nothing crazy this time. As you can, well, I guess it's actually down 3 tokens, but you can see over here, the screenshot it took, you know, 46,080 now, and really it was 81. I mean, if you round that decimal up, now it's almost like exactly 46,078. I mean, with really no decimals at all there. So that's pretty cool. I mean, only 2 tokens, not a whole lot of movement, but sometimes this thing moves a lot. Since I've been tracking it, I think it originally was around 55,000 the first time I ever looked at this list. Now it's down to 46. And there'll come a time when to be a top 1% holder, you might only need 25,000 XRP. And I think, you know, I'm not saying everybody needs to have 25,000, but if given the current climate, if we don't have price appreciation in the near future, I don't think 25,000 XRP is that hard to get to. I think 10,000 is very easy to get to. I mean, if you were just to kind of hunker down and just buy, you only need about $15,000 right now. Actually, not even. You still got to factor in the exchange fees. Sometimes they're spreading depending on who you not bank with, but who you exchange with. I would say probably $14,000 right now gets you 10K XRP. So you could have 25,000 XRP for maybe $40,000 all in if the price stays low for the next couple of months. $40,000 over a couple of months is pretty crazy, actually. But I'd have to imagine nobody here is starting from zero. If you were starting from zero, you might not be able to make it in time. But you know, if you've got like 20,000 already, I bet you could get to 25,000 XRP before price appreciation hits. Unless unless the reverse carry trade happens later this week or sometime in the next like 2-3 weeks, then yeah, whatever you got, you got. XRP goes above $10. I think it's going to be the days of stacking XRP will basically be over. That's why it's so important to get in on this thing early, because you know there's going to be mainstream people that see XRP at $10 and be like, "Oh my gosh, I got to start buying this thing." It's like some of us will already be up like 10 to 15x. Is it really that good of a deal at that point? But that's just the way people are, man. No one wants to buy XRP when it's $1.35. They want to wait until it's 10, 15, 20 bucks to start buying. And I'm glad that you guys aren't one of those people. But man, when I talk to regular people, they're like, "Oh, I'm not buying that thing. And look at its chart." And it's like, you guys don't understand Nostro Vostro, even though I tried to explain it to you 7 or 8 times. But hey, that's why you get on YouTube and stop telling all your friends at the bar. Anyways, guys, we're running up here at the hour. I'm going to pop into Twitter just to see what's going on, and then I think I'm going to start wrapping things up. Very nice weather out today, so I'm probably going to do an extended walk, see what's going on out there. I like to get my news while I'm walking. It kind of just gets me the right energy. Now, of course, lately the news has been pretty grim, but... Oh, this is cool. I'm literally just seeing this in real time. On Scepter, we have great news. You can now unstake your Flare instantly on Scepter. So if you don't know, on the Flare network, once you're locked in, you're locked in. You are not pulling out your Flare once you're locked in on the Flare network, which I am. I have some of my staking on my normal wallet going all the way into 2027. So I'm happy with what I'm getting, so I wasn't planning on pulling it out anyways. But just so you guys understand, I quite literally can't. Whereas with Scepter, they're saying now you can have early pullout on your staking. I wonder if that's going to affect the APY at all. This is cool. I will continue looking at Scepter. I haven't done it yet. Part of it is, you know, a majority of my Flare that's not on the YouTube wallet is staked. So if I want to get on Scepter, I quite literally have to do it with new Flare tokens. So that's kind of why I haven't done it yet. But I do think it will happen. It just probably won't happen right away. But in case anyone was ever wondering, like, hey, why don't you give this thing a try? It's like, I will, but I got to go out and get some more before I can pull that off. I announced this a bit too early. I think I saw a headline for it and I thought it was live and it wasn't. But Uphold will be having FXRP on their platform. It's just not live yet. I think I announced it as being live and I was wrong about that, so I apologize to any Uphold users. I don't have Uphold, but it is coming. I think it's probably gonna happen sooner than later. I just don't know exactly when. But it's not live today, so just kind of be aware of that. And then I'm just looking at headlines right now. Nothing serious here. Straight from the Flare network. Flare's XRPI vision is featured on Forbes. My goal is that Ripple does the, I don't know what BD stands for in this context, to get the issuers onto XRP Ledger and we end up as a place where it moves around. Yeah, I won't necessarily read headlines. That could be kind of boring stuff there, but so yeah, I was saying at the beginning of the stream, all this XRP news is coming out of Flare. Has anyone else noticed that? It's almost, I mean, even the Flare headline is put your XRP to work DeFi on Flare. You're almost not really hearing anything coming out of Ripple lately. This is very bizarre to me, but it's just more reason where I'm looking at Flare and I'm thinking like, maybe Flare is what I've wanted all along, and they're gonna take XRP there, but maybe it was Flare that I really believed in. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you guys think about that. And I keep saying BD in the comments. I don't know what BD stands. Is that Brad Gar? No, it can't be Brad Garlinghouse. That would be BG. Backdoor would be Ripple's. No, I don't know if it's backdoor. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. Ripple's BD. So would Ripple's backdoor opens doors for Flare? I don't know. Don't you guys hate it when there's acronyms that you don't have the context for what the acronym means? And then you just have to nod your head like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you actually don't know what they're talking about. Well, anyways, I think we're just about going to be wrapping up here. It is noon. I definitely want to take advantage of some of this sunshine. It's like 65 degrees outside, which is not something that we normally get here in Michigan. Of course, it probably will be in the near future, but yeah, there we go. Operation Epstein Files going very well. As you can see, where's the climate people now? Where's the climate people now? I'm sure we'll be hearing from them too. But anyways, guys, I'm up at the hour. I think we're going to start wrapping this now. I'm going to try and work on a DeFi video later tonight. So for those of you that like DeFi, I think you guys will like that one. Also, I'm traveling this week. I'd like to stream Thursday, but my flight Thursday is in the afternoon. I'm going to see if I can find a spot in the airport to stream. I'd probably just stream on my laptop just to kind of make it easy. That'll all depend on, can I find a spot in the airport that's kind of secluded enough for me to do that? Otherwise, I might just make a video once I get where I'm going. We'll see. I'm doing a little bit of a mini spring break. You know, I'm a little too old for traditional spring break, but gonna go get some sunshine nonetheless. So I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll see about Thursday's stream, and it's possible that Friday's stream might also be postponed. We'll see. With that, guys, I'm gonna close this thing down, go outside and get some sun. I'll see y'all tomorrow.